What if I'm 30 years old, for example, and I had a traumatic upbringing? Can I repair myself from the childhood trauma that I experienced between the ages of 0 and 10?
The way that I would put it is, it takes a relationship to cause the trauma, and it takes another relationship to repair it. So the thing that most people don't understand about therapy, and why I really recommend psychodynamic psychotherapy, some people would say psychoanalytic therapy, but a more in-depth kind of therapy that lasts longer, is because you develop a relationship. It's not that you are healed from some pithy thing that the therapist says. I mean, I wish I was so smart that I could say this and, you know, everybody would say you're a genius and pay me millions of dollars. It doesn't work like that. Therapy requires the consistency of a relationship with the therapist, because it's through that therapist seeing you through the ups and downs of your life, reflecting your feelings. It's a kind of emotionally reparative experience, but it's not what the therapist says as much as the relationship, the long-standing relationship with the therapist. So what's healing is the relationship rather than the interpretations.
And can that be a romantic relationship that then course corrects you in some regard?
Okay, so the idea is that to really heal, it requires relationships. And those relationships sometimes can be people that you love. The problem with people that you love is that you end up burdening those people with, you can overburden the people that you love with your conflicts, your internal losses. So, you know, if you find yourself using the people that you love like therapists, if you find that you're using the people that you love to deal with past losses, I would say it can corrupt the relationship. So you have to be careful. So the reason to go to a therapist would be to preserve the relationship. It's not that you don't share with the person that you love, but you don't want to overburden your friends or your lovers with the burdens of your childhood trauma, right? So I always say that therapy becomes like a safe container. You go to therapy, you talk to your therapist, you develop this trusting relationship where everything is left there, so to speak, in that container until you come back. But therapy is not for everyone. It requires laying down your defenses. It requires the ability to be open and talk about your feelings. There are types of therapies that you can go to if you can't talk about your feelings, things like DBT or CBT, but you know, for the most part, healing therapy requires being open. It requires trusting.
You must encounter a lot of people that are in denial about their childhood trauma and the role it's played in shaping who they are, because you'll have people come to you, I'm sure, that are exhibiting adults. A lot of people that are in denial about their childhood trauma and the role it's played in shaping who they are, because you'll have people come to you, I'm sure, that are exhibiting adult symptoms, like maybe they can't form relationships very well, maybe they've got other forms of emotional erratic behavior, and there must be occasions where you have a suspicion that it's linked to some early experience and they're in denial. So I was thinking about people that I know that have presenting symptoms in their life, really sort of like chronic presenting symptoms, but if you were to ask them if their childhood played a role, they're almost like defensive of their childhood.
So defenses are important. Defenses protect us. So, and people also have a misunderstanding of what therapy is about. The kind of therapy, I'm a psychoanalyst, so people think you go to therapy and they take your defenses away from you. I would never take someone's defenses away unless I could help them to replace them with healthier defenses. So what we do is an exchange. Like, you don't take your foot off a landmine unless you have a really big rock to put in its place, right? So if you're going to let go of one defense, you have to trust the person you're working with, that you'll find a better, healthier defense to protect you.
Give me an example.
If you used anxiety in childhood, if you use the anxiety to get attention, what if you complained as a child and you went around and said, I'm worried about this, and so in a way it serves a purpose. That anxiety, that complaining, that expression of emotion, it gets the attention from your parents, and suddenly And I do believe that there's a lot of this going on. A lot of kids are breaking down and saying, I'm anxious, I'm depressed. I do think many of them are, but I also think that many of them need their parents to understand them. So that would be what I call, it's a defense, but it's an unhealthy defense, because what ends up happening is that the parents stop being able to hear them because they complain, and the anxiety starts to grate on the parents, and the parents pull away, right? And so what would be a better defense for that child is to learn how to express what they need from their parents, instead of just saying, I feel anxious or I feel depressed, but to actually say, you know, Mom and Dad, you don't really spend any time with me. You don't really, and when you're home, you're distracted and you're on your computer and your iPads, and you don't really seem that interested in me. And so that's a better way of going about getting the attention that they need. So you're never taking something away from someone unless you have something better to give them. And that's a myth of therapy, right? So people feel that they're going to go into therapy and be left defenseless. Now, defensiveness, which you mentioned, is a different thing entirely. When someone is defensive, it means that it's an unhealthy defense. It means that you hit something. So when you say to your friend, do you have any childhood trauma? And they say, absolutely not. What do you, blah, blah, blah. That defensiveness, as opposed to someone who says, you know, I can't think of any. Maybe, so the ability to introspect about the good and the bad and integrate the good and the bad is a healthy sign. If you have a friend who can't talk about the sadness of their childhood, or a friend who can't talk about the happiness, who can't integrate the good and the bad of their childhood, you know something happened there. And if you have a friend who won't talk at all, then you really know something happened there. You hit a sensitive spot.